In this video, I'm going to give you some tips for colored pencils. The first tip that I'm going to give you is that I like to work on surfaces that have texture. The reason is because I like to put many layers of colors, and I like to put like several types of highlights. First highlight, second highlight. I like to put several shadings. And for that, I need a surface that will hold the layers of pencils. This surface that I'm showing you in here is called pastel board. I also like to use another surface that is called color fix. And the reason being is pastel board comes in only 4 colors: green, white, sand, and gray. However, if you like to have more color backgrounds, you can always put acrylic and base coat your pastel board with a different color. This is another surface that I like to use, and this one is called color fix. It's also paper, and what I do is I glue the paper to the surface that I'm gonna use. This was glued to a box. It's glued to a box. I'm going to be showing today some tips using this surface. This is called color fix. One of the reasons why I like pastel board is because it already comes on a hard surface, so you don't have to glue it to any place. But if I've used paper, I would like to glue it to a hard surface, such as a piece of wood or a piece of metal, some surface that you like to use. Other type of surfaces that I like to use, there's a paper called UR 400, there's another one called Fisher 400, and there's also another one called My Tentes Touch. Those are sanded support surfaces because they have a texture like sand that will hold your layers of pencil. One of the most important things about using surface with texture or any type of surface is that you need to have a very sharp, very sharp point. And for sharp point, I'm going to sharpen a pencil and show you what I mean. This is what I mean when I say a very sharp point pencil. The texture of the paper will be like this. This is a representation of the surface. If you have a sharp point pencil, you're going to be able to go inside of those crevices and layer the colors that you need to layer. But if you have a dull point, it's going to put pressure on top of the surface and it will not go inside, and that pressure is going to build up your wax. And I'm talking that I work with called Prismacolor Premier Color pencils that have wax, so I have to do techniques that will help me manage the wax on the pencils. So the techniques are: you need to have sharp point pencils, you need to go slowly and patiently. Colored pencils is something that takes time. You have to go slow. If you start rushing, you're gonna put pressure in your paper, and that's where you're gonna start building up the wax. So you also have to put minimal pressure, because if you put too much pressure, you're gonna bring the wax to the surface. So if you use minimal pressure, then you are not going to bring the wax as soon to the paper. This is one that I have started, and I'm going to show you how minimal the pressure will be. If you are having problem putting pressure, you can hold, instead of holding the pencil at the end, will give you a lot of control. You can try holding the pencil at the far end instead of holding it very close to the tip. You can hold it farther away, and that will lose some of the control on the pencil, and you will not be putting as much pressure. For example, this is one that I just started, and this is I'm doing this flower, Amapola. It's called this pattern, and it's at my website. And Amapolas is hibiscus in Spanish. And for example, if I want to increase that highlight, I can go and I go circular motion. Let me sharpen it better. I want it, when you're putting highlights on top, you need a very sharp point. So I'm gonna sharpen the pencil, and I am putting a circular motion. I am adding color. The more color you add, the better your pattern will look. So this is what it calls circular motion. However, you do circular motion, but you can also pivot your pencil, and that way you're gonna use the most that you can from the tip of your pencil. And I'm gonna explain to you that further. I'm gonna explain to you how to do it. This is the pencil. This is the point of the pencil, and you have a point here. When you start using your pencil, it starts wearing down, and you use all that, and instead of having the point in here, now you have the point in there. So if you turn your pencil and you pivot your pencil, you do a turn like that to the pencil, then you're gonna use the most of your pencil, and it will always have point, and you have to sharpen less. Before starting my piece, I use a piece of scrap paper or a piece of pastel board to practice and check the colors that I'm gonna use, and I create like value map of the colors that I'm gonna be using. These are the colors that I'm using in this design called Amapolas. And for example, this is the one on the flower, and this is color side by side. This is one of the ways that you can do. This is the color side by side. This is cream, and I created. I put all the colors that were in that design, and I start blending them together, and created this so I know if those colors were gonna work in my design. So you can do that, and that's gonna be very helpful. If you wanna know the colors that I use for this piece, you can buy the pattern at my website. So this is putting the colors side by side. Putting the colors side by side. There's two methods of doing this. You can put the colors side by side like I did in here, and the way that what I do for blending is, for example, you have two colors, one next to the other. Let's say that you have this color, and you start with that color. Then I want to put the next color. What I do, I want to, instead of putting them like this and create a line of separation between the two colors, when I put the color, I put it on a irregular basis, so that when I put the next color, it doesn't have a line. So you see, I went down to the next section, and I put some of this color, and then when I put the next color, I do the same. I start putting the color, and I go up, and that way I start blending in between. So instead of putting the color completely one color and then the next color and created a line, you can start blending while you put the color. And this is putting the colors side by side. This is one of the methods that you can use in here. Okay, So that's one method, putting the colors side by side. There is another method that is what I am doing in here. I started with a base coat and I put a color. Then I started shading. I started shading on top of the color that I have added. I started shading. So you can put color on top of color. It's not just, you don't just put color side by side. You can always also put a color and then put another one on top. So this is, on this pattern, this is what I did. I put color and I put color on top. So this is a different method. So you see, I'm putting all this color on top. You see, I still have texture, so that means that I need to put more layers. The more layers you put, the better your piece is gonna look. And I'm not gonna do all that in here because the purpose of this video is to show you tips and techniques. So the other tip that I'm gonna give you is that I'm gonna show you how I do the water drops. I did a water drop on this pattern. This is the water drop, and I'm gonna show you how to do a water drop next. Okay, this is the diagram of a water drop. The light is coming from the right, so, and it's depositing in the water in here, and it's casting a shadow underneath. So this is the cast shadow, and so this part you're gonna shade, and this part you're gonna highlight because the light is depositing in that area of the water drop. But you're gonna have a very strong highlight in here, and you're also gonna have some dots of light in the dark side, like so. This is the light that is depositing in there. And you see, those are the shines. So we're gonna do a water drop for you. I'm going to base the light area with 1 gray 10%, and I'm gonna use a circular motion. This is 1 gray 10%. Then I'm gonna go to, and I'm gonna break this. I wanna break this area, so I'm breaking it. Okay, now I'm gonna go to the black cherry, which is gonna be my shading. Now I have that light line in there, and I want it to be darker. I'm gonna start building it up. Let's see. I'm gonna put mahogany red, which is the color of the background. Okay, and I'm gonna go to, this is black cherry. So I shaded with black cherry. Now I'm gonna blend with mahogany red, both of these colors. The important part is that you have strong light on one side and strong dark on the other side. I'm blending the two colors with mahogany red, which is a lighter color. And I'm gonna blend also with this other color, which is the 1 gray 10%. So I'm gonna go back and forth between those two colors and blend them. Now another thing about these pastel sulfur surfaces is that they grab any particle that falls on it, so I use a tack, poster tack, to remove those particles. This is what you're going to use also if you need to correct anything. Now we have to put a cast shadow next to the light. You're going to put a cast shadow, and you can start building it, the cast shadow, using first black cherry. This is the cast shadow. You can then further shade that cast shadow with black. Then you need to put a highlight, and the strong highlight is going to be with white. That's why I didn't start with white, because I wanted to put my highlight with white. Now white is a color that will not take on top of the other. You see, it's not taking. If that happens to you, you can use, and this is another tip, a gel pen. This is a Uniball Signo gel pen. And you can take one of these gel pen, and it will give you a very strong light. And this is something that a lot of color pencil artists are using now to put back the white. Then I'm going to put secondary lights on the dark area. And that's going to be the end of my water drop. Please join us at the Color Pencil Club, when you're going to find videos like this and other informative videos. We have projects from beginning to end, and we have videos, we have a video library, and we have a Facebook page where you can have your projects evaluated by the teachers. We have teachers from different places of the around the country, and the subscription is for 1 year. Please join us.